Greetings, Rebel fans. My name is Jason Kelly. This is the Let's Run podcast. I want to welcome you all to the show today. Going to be a brief show tonight as we have only about 50 minutes until game time. UNLV basketball is taking on the Pepperdine Waves. Oh, let me put this up here. Don't want you guys to gotta remember where we are. I gotta get my overlay up there. So UNLV basketball at the Thomas and Mack tonight, taking on Pepperdine. Pepperdine is a 1-2 team. They have a win against Western Illinois. They lost to UC San Diego. Not a terrible team. They lost to UC Irvine. Again, not a terrible team. But neither of those losses were particularly competitive. Pepperdine is – and go ahead, guys, and leave me your score predictions in the comment section, how you're feeling about the Rebels tonight. For frame of reference, KenPom has this as a 12-point win for UNLV, 81-69. I think that's probably about right, but it'll be a little bit closer than that. I'll give my prediction as we finish out the pod tonight. I'm going to keep this very short, as I know a lot of people are getting down to the Thomas and Mack right now. Pepperdine's best player, and it's not even close, is a guy called – just want to make sure I get his name right. So Pepperdine's got a player averaging about 25 points a game. Looking at their statistics in their games that they've played, Pepperdine's best player is a guy named Stefan Todorovic. Isn't that his name? Yeah, Stefan Todorovic. He is a 6'8", kind of 6'9" player who can really get the ball in the basket. He's got a very diverse offensive game style. He had 33 points against UC San Diego. Again, that was in a near 20-point loss. And against Western Illinois to start the years, he had 25 points. So this guy is a legit scorer. 48. Oh, that's for San Jose. Yep, that sounds about right. And then 82-64. I would be very happy with that kind of a score tonight, 82-64 in favor of the Rebels. That's a little bit more than I'm predicting. I do think the Rebels will win this game, but let's dive into the box score, kind of the matchup style, and then we need to talk a little bit about the injuries that are plaguing UNLV right now. The team is absolutely ravaged. So if you weren't aware, so Jace Whiting, I believe he's technically a game time decision. I would not expect Jace to play tonight. I know that the play of Jace has left a little bit to be desired by some people in the fandom. However, I do think he's an important piece just to give DJ a little bit of rest. He's the guy that hasn't done a ton right, but he hasn't made a ton of huge mistakes either. So I think he's an important piece, and I'm sure the burner squad will come after me for that opinion. But I think Jace is a necessary and important part of this roster. Jaden Henley, this is the one that we didn't know. We don't know how it happened. I don't think it happened in the game. I think it was a practice thing. But Jaden Henley is out 2 to 3 weeks. Some sort of leg injury. We're not really sure. The only beat reporter in this town that seems to really care about reporting the news around UNLV is Mike Ramala. And Mike Ramala, bless him. I actually like Mike. I think he does an okay job, but he's not a super hard hitting journalist, going after the nitty gritty details of following a team. So all we know is that Jaden Henley is out for 2 to 3 weeks. We don't exactly know why, but what this means. So it's Jaden Henley, obviously, James Evans, if you weren't aware, there was an academic problem. Nothing that James did wrong, but a weird issue with the NCAA, and we believe he's going to be redshirting this year. Rob Whaley is dealing with a pretty serious lower back injury at the moment. Enough so that Rayleigh's season could obviously, you don't know this for sure, but Whaley's season could be in jeopardy. They're doing everything they can to get him back on the floor, but that's a pretty bad injury lineup. I mean, that's 4 players essentially between Jace, Rob, James, and Jaden. We're down to like 9 scholarship players tonight. So what does this mean for the rotation? In a couple of ways, I don't hate it because I think it gives, again, these games. The Memphis game was not the type of game to run a 11-man rotation. The game last week against Nebraska Omaha and this game against Pepperdine, these are the games to run a bigger rotation. So what do I want to see? First of all, who's going to start? I think it's going to be DJ, obviously. You could see with Jace out, you could see DJ play like 35, 36 minutes tonight. I would not be surprised at all. And DJ himself is also dealing with a little bit of a nagging foot injury. So, not a lot of depth here. Bedford will probably remain a starter, although Bedford has been a disappointment to say the least. I think Bedford will turn it around. I think he's a good player with good talent, a lethal shooter that I believe will be a contributor regardless. But Bedford is certainly a player that I'm hoping can have a good night tonight. Who will start at the 3? This is where it gets kind of interesting. The Rebels have basically two options. They can kind of go small and play Brooklyn Hicks at the 3, try and add as much shooting and ball pressure and just athleticism on the field as they can, on the court as they can. Or they could kind of go a little bit bigger and put Jalen Hill at the 3. I could see that as well. Jalen Hill, I would expect him to have a monster night tonight. There's going to be a lot of opportunity, especially with Jaden Henley not in the game. But I think you're going to see a lot of Jalen Hill. Another option they could go for is Julian Rishwain. They could slip him into the starting lineup. I think that would be a wise decision too. I think Rishwain is certainly going to get a lot of shots tonight. He has exceeded everybody's expectations, a true lethal shooter. So you could see DJ, Jalen Bedford, and Julian Rishwain. Again, that's not a great defensive lineup. I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen there. I think Hicks is better than Rishwain at defense, so I would play probably Hicks and then bring Rishwain off the bench. And then the 4-5, you could play kind of smaller and slot Jalen Hill into the 4, and then obviously Bear Cherry will start at the 5. I saw Bear on my way out of school today. He looked very at peace with this upcoming game. I saw him riding a scooter over to the Thomas and Mack Center. But, there's also an option where, this has been kind of a popular suggestion. Play Pape, Jacob Barnaby, Bear Cherry, and Jalen Hill. I think you'd play Jalen Hill regardless, but play kind of 3 bigs and then just DJ. Or what I would do, I think, Master Rebel, the smartest lineup for me is if you could have Rob Whaley on the team. Say he's healthy. I think the best lineup is Jalen Hill, Julian Rishwain, DJ Thomas, Rob Whaley, and Bear Cherry. That's the lineup that I want to see. Unfortunately, due to health, we're not going to get that tonight. But, I mean, maybe I think going bigger and trying to rebound better is something that this team can probably benefit from. So I don't know. I mean, I think this is going to be a pretty illuminating night. Again, with football being as successful as it is, I think this is kind of a make or break type year for Kevin Kruger. And I think fairly, it really should be. Like Kevin Kruger absolutely should have a little bit of pressure on him this year to perform. I'm really hoping that Brooklyn Hicks can have a breakout game tonight. Every time he's on the floor, I like what I see. And I feel like the staff doesn't trust him enough. Now, obviously, I'm not at practice. I don't have time to be at practice as often as people that actually, do this for a complete living. So I don't know what Brooklyn's doing in practice that isn't getting him as much time as me and other Rebel fans kind of think he deserves. But I guess we'll see. We don't really know what the lineup's going to be. If I had to predict, I think they go Rishwain probably. I don't think they're going to take my advice and start Brooklyn Hicks. I think they're going to continue to bring him off the bench. It's going to be DJ, Bedford, Rishwain, Jalen Hill, and Bear Cherry. That's probably what they do. The problem with that lineup is that this Pepperdine team, again, has a little bit of size. They've got this guy, Kubali Bubkar. Sorry, his name is Bobakar Kuabali, 6'10". He gets a little bit of playing time. Doidas Butka, Dovidias, I don't know, a couple of European guy, big 6'9", 6'10", and their best two players are Alonso Fore and this Todorovic guy. This is not the same team that we played last year. This Pepperdine team that we play this year is a bigger team with a little bit more skill. So I would not be surprised at all if we're going to have to kind of play better interior defense. And the trio of Isaiah Cottrell, Jacob Barnaby, and Pape Ndiaye, if we want to win this game convincingly, which we have to, it's not just about winning in college basketball. It is about winning with a big margin of victory. In the KenPom era, in the quadrant era, it does not matter if you barely squeak by. Obviously, barely squeaking by is a lot better than losing. Do not get me wrong. But the margin to which you win is hugely important in college basketball. KenPom has this as a 12-point win for the Rebels. The Rebels have to win by 30. They've got to win by 25. If the score is, a 10, 15-point lead with 5 minutes to go, that's the time to put on the gas, not put on the brakes, because margin of victory is so important in modern college basketball. UNLV started the season in KenPom at like 85, and they've dropped all the way to 97. And that's with a somewhat close loss to Memphis. That's with a couple of ho-hum victories over bad teams. They're dropping. They're not going up. And KenPom is very important because it is what it gives information to the net rankings. It is how you are picked as an at-large NCAA team. It's everything. And so if I have any advice to the Rebels tonight, even though I know, the coaches are all getting ready for the game right now, it's really really hit the gas tonight. Really go for it. Try and dominate this Pepperdine team. They've got a big guy. Let Bear absolutely wreck him. Get him in foul trouble. Get him on the bench. Let DJ run wild. And really focus on playing disciplined defense. If you guys are watching that game against Nebraska, I mean, the Rebels were fine defensively for 29, 30 minutes there. And they just had like honestly, it's probably like 32 or 33 minutes. They just had two 2.5 or 3 minute stretches where the defense completely fell apart. And so the Rebels are going to need to play disciplined defense on the defensive side of the ball the entire game and blow this Pepperdine team out. If you weren't paying attention, a couple of housekeeping items before we get out of here. If there's some remarkable result tonight, I might go live after the game. Say the Rebels win by 120 to 62 or something like that. Maybe I'll go live. If the Rebels lose, I will definitely go live. Southern had a 14-point lead. If you guys remember the vaunted Southern Jaguars that beat us to start the season last night, they had a 14-point lead over Texas A&M at half. And Texas A&M has just retaken the lead. So, you gotta really kind of put your foot down and beat these teams, because teams like Southern and this Pepperdine team especially, they can come in and beat you. So I wanted to check that. I know New Mexico State played today because New Mexico State is our opponent on Saturday. And I'm not trying to look ahead or anything, but this New Mexico State team is pretty good, actually. Now they're not world beaters or anything. They played at Dayton tonight. They lost in a pretty convincing fashion, but that game they lost 74-53 tonight. But that game was closer than that final score would indicate. So hopefully the Rebels can have a complete performance tonight. I'm excited to see what Coach Kruger does. I'm excited to see how big he goes, like Master Rebel said. I want to see how many of those big young guys that he plays. I'm perfectly fine with Jacob Barnaby minutes. I'm perfectly fine with Pape minutes. Just don't shoot threes, guys. They both took a three in the Memphis game, and that was bad. So that is all for the evening. I again won't go live if it's just kind of a ho-hum victory, but if something spectacular, either for the worse or for the better, happens, as the game ends, I will go live. And I would expect a San Jose preview and a Pepperdine recap probably tomorrow because we play San Jose on Friday. If you didn't check it out, the UNLV football uniform introduction today was pretty hilarious with Tony Grimes going to a pizza place. And if you haven't heard the story about the pizza at Allegiant Stadium, it's kind of been blowing up on Allegiant on social media with people complaining about the prices of the food at Allegiant Stadium and thinking that the Rebels have anything to do with that UNLV has anything to do with pricing food at Allegiant, which we don't, of course. So a fan apparently paid about $500-$600 for like a pizza, like a box of pizza. So people were complaining about that, and our football team took advantage of that with a really clever video today. So my final score prediction, I think it's going to be a lot closer than it should be. I've got a 78-72 victory for the Rebels. It'll probably be the final score will probably look closer than the game actually was. But I think this game will happen. We'll win by about 6 to 8 points. And then I expect us to drop in the rankings by 4 or 5 slots again. I hope they prove me wrong. A 6-point win is a win, yes, but when margin of victory matters more than anything, you got to go out and win big. And with a team as decimated with injuries as we are, I'm not seeing that tonight. So the way that the Rebels beat my prediction would be Jalen Bedford going for 30 points, shooting a bunch of threes, would be Julian Rishtwain hitting a bunch of threes. I think it would have to be on offense because Jaden Henley is certainly physically one of our most gifted defenders. So we shall see, guys. We shall see. I appreciate you all checking out the show tonight. I think some of you are probably on your way down to the Thomas and Mack right now. I will see you there. If you see me at the Thomas and Mack, say hi. I appreciate you guys, and let's run.